Board games, board games. We might be talking about board games and life in Bangkok, but I'm not gonna shout. We are here with Alison Shale, who comes over here, and Alison hails from the place of Birmingham, where it's in the United Kingdom. Anyway, we are not talking about that, we're talking about Bangkok, board games, and a little bit of this and that. That's what we will talk about. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m. ish UK time. Time for Busy Beats and Board Game Blether, episode 871. Meeting Alison Shale and actual Yogi, which I thought was remarkable because I've made this game that's been rebranded as Yogi, but I've never actually talked to a proper Yogi. I've done a bit of it, like I've done a bit of hot yoga, I've done like bits of different types, but I've never really sustained the practice, is the truth. So the other reason that I'm having you on is because Andy Hopwood, mutual friend, puts us together, I think, when he found out that I was planning to move to Bangkok, which might finally happen after a delay because of the pandemic and everything, puts a bit of spanner into everyone's works. And it's an absolute delight to have you here. Thank you so much.
It's awesome to be here. It's such an adventure. So thank you for having me on.
And for those people who've never heard of you, there's a little bit scrolling at the bottom of the screen. But what would you like people to know straight off the bat? What are some of your favorite things?
Some of my favorite things, well, my yoga mat is my favorite thing, obviously, and obviously doing yoga is one of my favorite things. Gosh, so many favorite things, actually. I love exploring, which is why I'm here. I love different cultures, which is also why I'm here. What else do I love? Well, self-discovery is a big thing for me, and that's how I'm doing the work that I'm doing. Yeah, and just enjoying. Well, I do like the sun. You were saying I'm looking a bit brown. I do like to be in the sun, and we've been away for the New Year, so that too. So,
I absolutely empathize with that. I mean, people ask, why Thailand? Why Bangkok? And then been asked so many times that I put it down into very short bullet points, and I say price, warmth. I know it's potential for adventure. That's the real three reasons for me. And yeah, it's the price thing. It's a bit. I mean, there is a bit of privilege, obviously, having come from the UK and knowing that, yes, I will be able to do all these things and I'll be able to hopefully continue making money in an international way, working with international companies, because there's not much that requires me to be here, which is why for so long I've felt, yeah, I really should move while I still can. But let's talk about you. What have you been up to in the past few days? What's a typical day in your life like? Let's talk about some recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. What you've been up to in the past few days?
Recent highlights. Well, like daily yoga is my everyday highlight. That happens every day. And of course here I can do yoga outside, which is my absolute favorite thing to do. And when I went to the UK, I did still do it outside, but everyone thought I was a bit mad.
So in Bangkok, are you saying that it's a really common thing to see people doing exercise, to see people doing stretches and stuff in the park? And
yeah, definitely. Exercise in the park is a really big thing. You'll see lots of people doing yoga, and also you see the older people doing the qigong, which is wonderful. It's so cool to watch them. They're incredibly agile and amazing. And that's how I want to be when I'm that age. So that kind of stuff, being in the park, because Bangkok is such a busy city, being in the park is obviously a real highlight. And I think I shared a photo of you with you of that this morning. That's always a highlight. And to find nature in Bangkok is a challenge, but it's definitely a highlight when you can find it.
And so, yeah. This isn't the park, is it?
Yes, yeah, that's Benjakiti Park. It's quite downtown, but not far from where I live because I'm quite downtown. So it's Asok Sukhumvit area, quite in the heart of the city. And they've
Okay,
just
because I
opened a
see
new
this
park
and I
right next
just
to it.
think that's very concrete. It looks just like admittedly very pretty waterfront to me. And
Yeah,
I thought,
so behind me in the picture is more green, and then they've opened another park right next to it, which is like, how often do you say in Bangkok we've opened a new park? So they have, and it's wonderful. And it's this wild park, and it's really fantastic. So yeah, it's a pleasure, and that is definitely a highlight.
that sounds just wonderful. And hello, Mike, and good morning to you. And I hope you're generally well. Um, yeah, looking at your other photos, I mean, this is a scene that you'd never get in the UK. The sheer hustle and bustle, and sure, we've got two deliveries and stuff, but just the old school strapping things onto the motorcycle and
Yeah.
running around in this way.
Yeah, what you can get on a motorcycle defies belief in Bangkok. I've seen everything, like dogs, chickens, goats, all kinds of stuff. And that can just be, downtown Bangkok. So you can have a huge shopping mall behind you and then like a motorcycle with chickens and goats and things on in front of you. So I think that the other amazing thing about Bangkok is just this juxtaposition of every different aspect of life all in one spot. So, you can really feel this sense of everything being here in one place. So
Yeah,
it's very common to see this.
I could imagine for some people it's sensory overload with all the noises and you know the sights and the sounds. But like for me, it just seems like a celebration of color and a celebration of life. Going into place, having the meal on sticks with 1,000 tastes in the open food market, which admittedly is probably not the most healthy way to eat, but it's still good for a treat, I guess.
It's the experience, isn't it? And the sights and the sounds, the experience. And yeah, like it is quite a sensory overload some days. And I live quite downtown. Um, it can be like that, but then there's also some quiet parts. And I think there's another photo I shared with you. Oh, there's the chicken in the street, which is again, you've got the mall behind you, the high-end mall, and then you've got the chicken in the street, which is fantastic.
And then you
But the
worry
other,
about what's to stop the chicken just running and crossing the road.
it's
And
literally, oh, why did the chicken cross the road?
yeah, why did it? I mean, hopefully it's not going to step off the pavement and yeah, get run over.
I think that they know better. I think they're kind of like very, cool urban downtown chickens. They know how to negotiate life.
And talking about like urban structures, I mean, there's just some amazingly tall buildings in Bangkok. I've noticed like where one of my friends lives, Jessica Sankey, and this photo that you took here. It's
Yeah, this is from my balcony actually. I took this afternoon, but what I think is interesting about it, you can see obviously the buildings and you can see how far you can see, and these huge buildings like the grey one on the left there, that's just been built. And then you've got the waterways, and there's a huge amount of waterways in Bangkok as well, which I think that people don't realize, and people actually get around on those boats. So literally we have the Klong or the waterway right behind our house, and you can go all over the place on these boats as well, all the way into like the cultural center where the palace is and all of that kind of stuff on a boat. So if you get stuck on the Bangkok traffic, there's always a boat that you might be able to find that you can get there quicker.
So I'm curious when you're doing I don't know if it's in the morning or what time you do your yoga, when you're coming outside, are you reliant on lifts or do you get very fit doing a lot of stairs?
Quite reliant on lifts, but the balcony that I've taken this photo from is where I do my yoga. So I have a space and I have longevity of sight when I do the yoga in the mornings. Probably I have spectators as well,
Wow,
but that's okay. Maybe that will inspire them to find a mat, right?
of course.
But
And I mean,
it's
I've
space.
got a very small space. It's more like a fire escape than what I would really call a balcony. But I try to go downstairs most days through that way, even though I've got a little bit of a fear of heights, and then each time there's little bits of nervousness, but you get over it each time. And there's a thrill, at least for me, being like, oh, I'm here, but it's okay, it's safe, okay, I need to keep telling my, okay, I can walk down. It wouldn't have been here, it's probably not going to collapse, it's all okay. And then I walk down, and that's kind of my daily challenge, let's say.
Well, you have something in the UK that we don't really have in Bangkok, and that's health and safety. So you might be able to trust your fire escape a little more than perhaps we might trust ours. But yeah, as you say, it's kind of part of the thrill.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's like a higher chance, I mean, that chance is still going to be, I don't know, like 1 in 100,000 rather than 1 in 1 million, I guess. And so
Right.
presumably, I'm just guessing. I've not run the statistics on the probabilities of balconies collapsing, but let's crack on. And the other thing I like to talk about, unrelated to board games, is brilliant thing, brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? What's a brilliant thing you'd like to talk about?
I would like to talk about the humble tea bag.
Mm.
The humble tea bag.
Yeah, a net, a mesh. It allows water to seep in and seep out, and then the
Yes.
leaves just stay put. And when I compare it to buying loose tea, it's just such a hassle.
I
And
know. I can carry this little beauty around in my bag, right? And at any moment when you can't find a cafe that does the right kind of tea, you can kind of whip it out. And someone will give you hot water. They'll always give you hot water. And it doesn't disintegrate in the cup. Genius, absolute genius. And it gives me this beautiful sense of connection with my culture, but also sense of peace as well. So the tea bag is my hero.
I love that. I don't drink tea as much as I would like, but I think I'm going to try and make it if something that I do every couple of days, just as part of a routine. But what I'm building into a routine is a lot of vitamin pills, okay, and then get my water with effervescent vitamin C in it.
Oh, very
It's
good.
it encourages me to actually finish at least this liter of water, and
Right,
I know
right.
how much I've drunk at that point.
Well, I know in the brilliant thing is only singular, but it was a toss-up between the tea bag and the water bottle, because seriously, the water bottle is my hero as well. Like, can't get around the place without my water bottle.
Well, it's time for questionably quick questions. Is the next section? It's not an interrogation. It's just the questionably quick questions section. Questionably quick questions. What is the last game you played?
Oh, the last game I played was cards.
Which game specifically? I mean,
Gin
so
rummy
traditional
on
playing
holidays.
card game.
Yeah,
But
just a good old gin rummy on holidays with the family.
gin rummy. And so you cited this as one of your favorite games, and I've got a sort of picture here that I'm allowed to use. Obviously, this is of the digital version, but it's apparently a game from 1909 I discovered,
Is that
um,
right?
designed by Elwood Thomas Baker and Charles Graham Baker. And it has managed to survive to this day, I think, because of a strong fusion of set collection, occasional puzzles on your turn when you think, okay, how can I replace these cards and what am I going for? And you've got to make an interesting decision. But what is it that keeps you playing game after game after game of Gin Rummy?
You know, this is interesting because I was thinking about this. What do I like about these games? What do I like about games generally? Gin Rummy is really important to me because it reminds me of my dad. It was him that taught us how to play it, and it was every Christmas. And it was like, you know, if people came over, we would play it. So it was like the sense of connecting. And, you know, I've taught my kids how to play it, and I taught my husband how to play it. And even, you know, like the phrases that my dad used to use when he'd play it, I'm there and I'm like, you know, dad's hanging out with me. So it's a bit like that, really, because dad's no longer with us. But when I play Gin Rummy, I've like got dad on my shoulder going, yeah, you know. So it's a good one.
Yes, I think that with a game that you can keep playing, and I believe that it gets to a point like a lot of playing card games where you can sort of play it on autopilot. I mean, frankly, if I make half as many good decisions as someone else, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to lose because there's a lot of luck in the game. But
Right.
I can, if I really want to, really challenge myself and every move think, okay, I'm going to work out the probabilities and I'm going to try and remember every single thing that's gone down and work out what's the optimal thing. But then even then, you're only increasing your percentage chance by little bits. And I think it's this sort of opt-in nature of really pushing in the brain work and the nature of being able to play it as a casual thing that I believe helps it survive for, I guess, 114 years.
Mm,
Mike says, my family played gin rummy all the time growing
yeah.
up. Great family game.
Yeah, really connecting as well and fun. I love the way you talk about games as well. I find that intriguing because you're really thinking about probability and you're really kind of thinking about moves. And I think that's how my daughter plays. It's really not how I play. I really just play to kind of like for the connection and for that, you know, kind of awareness of family and all of that. So it's interesting.
Like, carrying on with the questionably quick questions, what was the first game you remember playing? Was it gin rummy?
God, the first game I remember playing, oh God, it might have been something like Snap or something. But we did have quite a lot of
Did you
board
play
games when I was a
Snap
child.
with traditional playing cards, or did you have a
Yeah,
custom? Yeah.
yeah, it was just traditional playing cards. But I mean, we may have had like other games like, oh, my dad used to play Ludo as well. The Ludo. We had like a games compendium. We had Ludo. We had Solitaire in there and some other things in there as well. So yeah, that was a good one too. We did used to play that at Christmas.
So would you say that games were a big part of your life, like something that you did regularly as a bonding ritual? Or would you say
Yeah.
that it was only really at Christmas and holidays?
It was a bonding ritual. I think it mostly or often, like consistently came out at Christmas and holidays. But it was something that we would do, and it was something driven by my father. My mother just went along with it, but there was something in that, and it was very connecting. And it felt like, you know, a sense of people being able to enjoy something together, but being able to enjoy each other as well at the same time. Very connecting. So.
Mm. And talking about memories in general, what's the first memory you can remember that you're willing to share at this point?
Oh, like of anything at all.
Anything.
Ooh. I remember my parents bringing home like sort of like a swing that you could hang on the door frame. I must have been really little because I can't imagine that it, you know, if I was bigger than 4 or 5, that it would have brought the door frame down. But I remember it sort of hanging on the door frame and me being able to sit in it and swinging it and just thinking this was the most incredible thing that I'd ever seen in my life. And it was genius and just completely, yeah, loved it. So I must have been pretty little.
That I know exactly the sorts of things you mean. Like when people are about maybe this big, then yeah, they can just bounce around and you can
Yeah.
sort of really get yourself going.
Yeah. Yeah. Genius stuff. And my kids had one as well, but I think it's a bit different by the time they got around to having it. So.
And what would you say are the most important people in your life right now? I mean, that's really hard to say because you don't want to start missing out people. But it feels like connections and family is coming up regularly.
Mm.
And although you've talked about introspection, you've talked about being true to yourself, it seems like it's coming from a place of your relationship with the world and the people around you. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well spotted. I think that, you know, one of my top values, being a coach, you know, we look into values a lot and what are the values that drive your life and what's important to you. One of my top values is connection, interestingly enough. So I think that, you know, games and many of the things that I do are driven by the sense of wanting to establish connection. So whether that's connection with other people, and of course that's family, but it's also connection with myself, and then something bigger, you know, whatever you conceive that to be. And everybody has their different ways of connecting or knowing what that is. But yeah, the important people in my life are my family, particularly being away from the UK, where the majority of people that I've known or family, you know, are and were there, and some in Australia too. So being here, you really connect closely with like your family, your little family. So I've got my 2 kids, although one of my kids is in the UK now. He's 18 and he's making his own way in the world. So that's a gap. And then I have my 16-year-old here and my husband here as well. So those are the important people.
And may I ask, out of curiosity, where is your 18-year-old?
He's in London. He's in big bad London. He's not completely by himself, but he's studying and working, and yeah.
I mean, you should connect us, because I'm in London.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were in Birmingham.
No, I'm in London. I just know Andy Hopwood through the UK Games Expo.
Okay.
But to round off the section with apparently questionably quick questions, which are very questionable in how quick they are being today, which is totally fine. Books or podcasts?
Oh, books. Oh, I don't know. That's difficult, isn't it?
I'm going with your first answer. Books.
Okay,
what's the last one you read?
Books. The last one I read, I literally read it in a day. It's Mitch Albom, and it is called, oh God, I can't tell you what it's called, but I can tell you what it's about. Being in a life raft with a number of people. It's a really interesting read. I wish I knew what it was called. Maybe later. Okay,
so would you rather be a pigeon or a shark for a day?
That's tricky. Okay, quick answer is going to be pigeon.
Okay, and the final question, looking at board games, do you prefer plastic or paper?
Oh, paper. That's the eco warrior in me.
Yeah, I'm really down with that as well. So as always, I encourage everyone watching to feel free to comment, ask questions from like follow yourself. I thought that what we might do today, Alison, is maybe go through the games that you said that you love and talk a little bit about them and talk about why they resonate with you. If that works.
Okay. Yeah.
And Stream Elements is reminding me to stretch. But let's talk about
stretching
Scrabble.
Is good. Stretching is good. Ooh. Oh, Scrabble. Well, I love words. As you said, questionably quick questions was not very quick.
No. This is now, we're beyond the questionably quick question section.
But it's because I love words and I love language. And again, it was something that was really valued in my family, you know, like words and the sort of clever way of putting words together, which is basically what Scrabble is, right? But, you know, the clever way of putting words together is wonderful in language and also in the game. So that was also something that was highly prized in the family.
And again, this is like a little bit of an older game. So 1948. So it's, I guess, 70. Oh, it's 75 years old this year.
Wow.
Made by Alfred Mosher Butts. And Butts continued trying to make an equally successful game and actually made a joke about it at some points during their life, saying Butts' other game, what I believe was basically the title of one of their things.
Excellent.
So it's, when people think about Scrabble, I think there's 2 ways that people think about it. Sometimes it's a casual, okay, everyone's just sitting around as a family, just seeing what happens and then adding up the scores at the end. Conversely, if you play it really competitively, it does become a game about almost shutting down the board. It becomes a game about knowing those short 2-letter words and really shutting it down, never letting the opponent anywhere near your...
Oh, you've got it. Score. Yeah, that's how I play it.
It's serious. You are a really devious player, are you?
Yeah, I know those 2-letter words. I know never to open up a triple word score, all of that stuff. It's pretty serious stuff. How many 2-letter words can you make? And yeah, it's all about that for me. It's all about that for me. And it was like that in my family. It was hardcore.
And so was this seen as a real accolade to say, I won Scrabble family game night?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it was usually mum, auntie, and me who did it. Not so much my dad. He was more the card game player. Yeah, so it was the ladies in the family. So this was kind of a ladies thing in our family.
I mean, obviously, in case you can't tell, this image is from someone did it to promote their Mount Olive family game nights, which is a nice thing, but these are maybe not words that you would typically put on, because maybe you'd be thinking, wow, they've just really opened up the board with this.
They have a bit, haven't they? It was a bit reckless what they just did there.
I mean, I feel like if we were to ever play, you would just thrash me, figuratively speaking. Do you see that as a problem at all? Do you ever play with people nowadays and you can just see their faces dropping as they get increasingly demoralized?
That's the problem a little bit in our current family, is that no one wants to play Scrabble with me because I get really, really competitive and they're just like, what is that 2-letter word? Are you sure? And I'm like, yes, it's here. So yes, I get a little bit too
Do you actually know the
overexcited.
definitions of all the 2-letter words?
Not at all. It's like needs must,
I mean, I like to. I much prefer it when you actually know, okay, chi, like, okay, za, like that's, it's a shortened form of pizza. And like, it's like, yeah, that's what za means. And so, I, it, for me, I guess I feel like I enjoyed the thing around it a little bit. With, and looking up stuff in the dictionary is always a strange thing in word games, because to my mind, I want to encourage people learning. And so quite often when I design something, I might say, you can look up one word a turn. Don't slow down the game, but if you look up one word a turn, that's fine. And you can say, oh, is this a word? I'll check it up. And
Yeah.
that way, if you're like, oh, I think that might be a word, go for it. And we can learn together. And for me, that's part of the joy of the game. But I can see that for you, these small words are just like ammunitions for your gun that you're going to shoot to eviscerate all your opponents.
Oh damn! You found me out. Yeah, I'm mercenary when it comes to Scrabble. Yeah. Although I do like the idea of that. I mean, when you've got kids, it's nice to also say, actually, do you know what this means? Like as I said, I like words, and my daughter and I play a lot of when we're just out and with the family, we play a lot of hangman, just because it's easy and it's there. And we were looking at, what's the longest word, and then we're like, well, we can't just know what the longest word in the dictionary is without knowing what it means. So I think it's important also to just go, yeah, what does that mean? Can we use it in conversation more often?
Yeah, and I think that we should. I mean, I hope that no one listening to this is really an anti-disestablishmentarianist, because I mean, I think that I'm pro-disestablishmentarianism. Like, I don't know where you fall on this line. Are you pro the separation of church and state? I mean, to me, that seems like a great thing.
Oh yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, so you
church
are.
is not really my thing.
Yeah, so pro-disestablishmentarianism. Yeah,
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
what you did there.
I mean, I wanted to bring up my own deck, the L deck, which was chatting about a wee bit yesterday. This is a game system for which obviously there's a lot of word games. There's also a few games that are just about using the letters for their alphabetical order, or as symbols to connect, or as things to play with language or storytelling. But it came about because I get bored in games sometimes. And I like it when there's a real time element. And for me, the way this game works is two cards in the middle, and then you've got to shout a word that uses at least one letter from each card. Once you manage to do that, then you take one of the cards from the middle, and now you need to replace the card that you just took, and you need to shout words using at least one letter from each card in the middle, plus at least one letter from every card you've collected. So it gets harder and harder and harder. But while you're doing this, everyone else is also working on their own words and trying to interrupt you. Well, it's no one's turn. Everyone's just racing to be the first person to come up with the word. And I think this ties into my personal tastes. Have you played many real-time games since you played Snap? And what's your thoughts on them?
Oh, I love that. A game that we really like, which I think is real time. It is not at all strategic, but it's so fun. We really like Pit, where you have to swap the cards and it's real time and it's fast. And I'm, really liking your description of your game about how everyone's coming up with words and it's fast and it's furious and it's fun. I love that. I love that excitement, that buzz of everybody sort of like working on their own thing.
And Pits is a really interesting one because it's high interaction. Everyone's screaming tray two.
Absolutely.
And you don't really know what's going on, and there's so much chaos.
Yeah.
Like, on the balance of chaos versus control, what kind of person are you? Would you say that you really lean into the chaos, or do you like a bit more?
Yeah, that's interesting. I do like my ducks in a row, but I think, when you live somewhere like Bangkok, also you get very used to chaos and you get used to kind of like, yeah, that's just how it is. And when you don't know the language and you don't know what's going to happen next, you have to kind of hone that. I just going to take it as it comes kind of muscle. So there's both there. I do like my ducks in a row though.
Yeah, there's definitely something pleasing about saying, this is what's going to happen. I've managed to decide this. I've managed to actualize this plan. I've managed to make it happen. And boom, it's all come to fruition. Hooray.
Yeah, that's right.
I do sometimes feel like, and I think that the data supports this, that board games do attract a lot of autistic people who are really do enjoy a greater sense of control and rules and organization and certainty in their lives. And I know that so many people are really keen on having surprises, and I don't mind surprises on a small basis, but I like them to be surprises that I can account for. If someone said, hey, I'm going to give you a present, I'd always rather know what it is in advance.
Yeah, so much like my daughter, and she is the gamer in our house. And I don't mean like gamer like this. I mean, she's the board game, she's the card game. But I think she likes the rules too. So that's really interesting that you're saying that. I haven't made that connection.
So the other game that you mentioned was Rummikub, which is designed released in 1977, designed by Ephraim Hertzano. And this is like a sort of evolution of Rummy, I guess it could be called. It's interesting because there's so many versions of Gin Rummy, and unlike Bridge, where there's now an association that says this is the version of Bridge, or unlike Poker, which has now been basically homogenized into Texas Hold'em, where there are so many different versions, but because it's played in casinos, they need to homogenize the rules. With Rummy, I don't think there really had been this sort of really strict setting of the rules until it was released as a packaged game in the form of Rummikub. So why would you play this as opposed to traditional Gin Rummy?
This is interesting, and I think this really sort of, again, it's connection with my daughter. She is so good at this game. She is way better than I am. She can sort of plan ahead, and she can like sit for a minute and move everything around and have like lost all her, her tiles. And I play it because it really makes me think. It taxes my ability to hold all the information in my mind at one time, and I'm in awe of how she can. I don't really have that ability to do it that well, and she really can. So I'm really I'm kind of like her support act. She might be my support act in Scrabble, and I'm her support act in Rummikub. But every now and then I win, and it's good, and all the rest of it. But but yeah, it's that challenge of that mental challenge of like, you know, can I hold all this in my head and like do all these moves and then make it work?
But do you think it's offers a fundamental, because Rummikub isn't a game that I've explored a lot myself, I'm going to admit. So genuinely, do you think it offers a properly different experience to just playing a similar form of Rummy with traditional playing cards?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more. I mean, the strategy in Rummy, of course, but this is a lot more about like, can you hold all of this information in your head long enough so that you can move everything around so that everything finds a place? I think it takes spatial awareness, which I don't have a great amount of, and it also takes like quite strong like working memory. Again, I don't have that brilliantly, but she really does. So like, I think it's a real challenge. I think just Rummy is, I don't think you have to have that amount of sort of working memory that you do for something like this. My first job was speech pathology, so I'm very interested in like how people think and you know, how they hold information and how they use language. So yeah, it's interesting.
Hello again. I do apologise for some problems with my laptop charger. So yes, that's not great.
No problem.
But yeah, so the other thing you mentioned is a game by mutual friend Andy Hopwood, released in 2019, just before the pandemic, at UK Games Expo, I believe. And Andy is such a lovely person. When I went to UK Games Expo for the first time, 2011, I met Andy Hopwood. I played so many games. I bought 2 games for the record. One of them was Hive, which I'd already played like 45 times online. And since then, because I've just not played it that much with the physical thing, I've maybe played it 10, 20 times, but it always feels like there's a disparity in the skill levels because there's so much to it, and it's a lot to kind of teach someone and then take them up, and it's a big commitment to say, yes, I'm going to learn. It is basically like chess. But then the other thing is Mind Leaf, which is another abstract strategy game, Perfect Information, by Andy Hopwood, and it's just more intuitive, it's simple, there's only 4 types of pieces, you place down a piece, that determines where the next player goes, and because I haven't played 45 games online, and I've only played, maybe 20 games with the physical pieces, it means that I'm still, I don't know how many, but I'm able to enjoy games, and it just feels a lot easier to onboard people, if you know what I mean. But
yeah,
back to Andy Hopwood's more recent release, Daring Dustbunnies. Why is this a game that you adore? And why isn't it a game that you've taken with you from Birmingham to Bangkok?
I don't know. We should have done it. Like, I ordered it as soon as he released it. I ordered it for like people that I knew in the UK, and then it wasn't until we went there. Oh yeah, it was during the pandemic. Like, it was hard to get back to the UK. It was a big deal, and then we got there and we played this game. And he said, "We haven't played this yet. You know, let's play it together." And it was just, it just represented this coming together of like, playing something that was Andy's and knowing that this was like, it's always his ambition to be this game designer, and he'd produced this incredible game, which we then all sat down together and played. And funny enough, I was texting him at the same time going, what's going on here? And look at me, I've got to the end and all this other stuff. And so it was just a really fun time, and it was really special because everything converged at the same time. And it's just fun, and it's kind of typical of the way that Andy's mind works, like who would come up with a game called Daring Dustbunnies? Well, Andy would, because this is totally him. So yeah, it was great to play it.
And it is such a cute little thing. And it, every game that you talk about, and this is common to everyone who talks about conventions or all the time when people talk about, well, it, I hope I would like people to talk about this more when they're doing top 10 lists. Because Scott Nicholson was a big proponent of the people and saying, when people asked, what's your favourite game, would say, well, this is a cop out answer, but really it depends on the people I'm playing with. Because you want to facilitate the experience for the people around you. And games are a way for people to be together at the table. Games are a way that people sitting down have decided communally this thing, which there's no reason for it from a survival point of view. There's no reason to say that rolling a 6 is good or that putting numbers in order is good or anything. It's not going to get us our meal or help us procreate or anything from an evolutionary point of view, but it's play, it's enjoyment, it's something that gives life meaning. The agency that maybe in life we can express ourselves and do things, but sometimes let's make a smaller world, make it simplified, say this is the thing that matters, and these are the things we can do. And ironically, by limiting what we can do, by limiting what matters, we feel more powerful.
Oh, I
And
agree with every word of that. It's so true. Like in a world that's way too complicated, why not bring it down to something simple that everyone's focusing on, that they're doing just for fun, just for joy, just for connection, and just have an incredible time without thinking about, any of the complexity of everything else. It's just, so important.
100%. And I see people after conventions, some people say, hey, here's my swag. Some people, and I love seeing the photos of all the booths, don't get me wrong, but also sometimes some people say, hey, here's my photos of all my favorite people that I met. Hey, here's a photo of this person, and here's a photo of this person. And that might be designers that you celebrate, that you respect, or it might be someone who you've spoken to online, but you haven't gotten a chance to actually meet in person yet. And it feels like every game we've talked about, I mean, with the exception of, I guess my game which you've not played, but every game you remember it by the people that you've been with, and I think that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's like, who taught it to you? Where were you when you learnt it? What did it mean? And you remember the holidays where you played it. You remember the moments that you shared. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I remember when I play games with whoever I play games with. It's often family, but it can be, anyone. So yeah, that's what it's about.
One game, unfortunately, I can't show photos just now because of the laptop, but I was going to look around to see if I could grab a copy very quickly, but I can't see it to hand. No, it's like one. Oh no, here's a copy of Yogi Guru. So it's not
Yogi
the original.
Guru, this is fantastic.
So this is a sequel to my game Yogi, which is a bunch of cards, and each card has an instruction. So the instructions will be very simple, like one finger touching mouth, one finger touching ear, two hands touching, and you need to keep doing more and more things. And there's like 50, 60 unique cards. And so eventually you'll be contorted in a way that you just can't do it. And you've still got to reach out for your next card. I will admit, unlike yoga, sorry, it's maybe not actually designed to open you up. It's kind of closing you down sometimes in the muscles. It's like, if I'm being honest, it's more like Twister than it is like yoga. But
Right.
yeah, what's your view on that? Is that something that you would like to play?
Oh, I would love to play that. I think we know what yoga's about, it's all kind of like connection to the self and all the rest of it. But I do like to do those fancy poses. I do like to challenge myself to see if I can put my head here or my leg there, just because it's fun, right? So I think I feel like I would excel at this.
And you would, I can see you being super competitive here and like getting like 20 cards where everyone else has just stopped on like 5.
Yeah, I probably would get a little bit like Scrabble with that. I'd be like, no, I can do this next one. Yeah, I think that would be so fun. I mean, my daughter's a gymnast, so she might do quite well as well.
Wow.
But yeah, I think that would be fun.
I
I
mean, it
love
does,
that.
you don't have to be a contortionist to play, but it would help.
Helps.
And I am quite proud that for a game that's like it is really accessible and everyone, at least for the original, you can still play it while you are sitting around a table. And there was only one card to do with the lower body, so even if you're a wheelchair user, you can still play the game, which I'm quite proud of because it's
That's
all the upper
awesome.
body.
That's awesome. And I love that. I mean, one of the things I think I would do if ever I came back to the UK is come and teach yoga to like elderly people or wheelchair users, something like that. So something like this would be really fun, right? You could actually have fun with these people, trying different things and seeing where it takes you.
It's been a lovely chat, and thank you so much for chatting. I've asked you so many questions, and at this point, I like to turn the tables and ask you, what would you like to ask me? What would you like to ask me, and potentially anyone in the audience who wants to answer as well? Question of the day, question of the day. It's a little question before we go on our way. Question of the day.
I would like to ask you, what do games do for you?
As in, why do I play? Why do I engage with games at a multitude of levels?
Well, it's more like yeah, okay, it is a bit why, but it's also, what do they do for you? What do you get from it? What does it give you?
Oh, wow, that's a very big question, and that's something that I could spend hours talking about. But I think it gives me a dream of possibilities. My first memory of a ZX Spectrum loading screen, it's a computer game, and just thinking what could happen on the other side of the screen. With board games, we haven't, after thousands and thousands of years, we've still not gotten to the limits of what they can do. I mean, I think that their games are art that deals with agency. I mean, movies deal with sight and sound and music. I love music, deals with sound, and obviously it can be very emotional. I don't want to undermine things. And painting, I love illustrations and I love Kandinsky. And I do actually love a lot of abstract artists like Marcel Duchamp. But I think that whilst that's all visual, for me, games are an exploration of what we can be, what we can do, and what there might be. And so, yes, it gives me a safe space. It allows me, if I'm tired and I'm struggling to have a big conversation, it's like, yeah, let's get out a game, hopefully something simple, and then we can just play this or something we've played before. It's a connection, it's a reason for being. I mean, there's been times in my life where if I wasn't working on a game, I wouldn't have had, and this might sound a bit dark, I wouldn't have had so much reason to carry on. But there's been so many times where it's been like, this is what I'm able to do to hopefully bring joy to other people. And I think that games, yeah, I, this might be overstating it, but they give me a safe haven, they give me a purpose, and they give me connections.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome. And
Oh,
in the
somebody said
comments,
something.
Mike
Yeah.
says, it's my social outlet. Great way to connect with people. Yes, I absolutely agree. As long as everyone's willing to learn the rules, and obviously you need to select the game carefully for the audience. But then once everyone said, yes, this is a game suitable, we've kind of had to negotiate that space. And it gives us the tools, I think, for adults' life where I don't think we communicate enough in relationships. So many times someone says, oh, I'm struggling to work. I love my boyfriend, but at some point, I know we're going to have to break up, and I'm scared of how to do this does anyone have any tips? And then someone says, hey, this might sound obvious, but have you actually talked to your boyfriend about this? And the person says, oh, I'm so slightly embarrassed. No, I hadn't. And people, like with board games, we explain the rules to each other, we teach them, and I think it does foster communication and human interaction.
I agree. Yeah, for me, it's the connection part that's so important, and that the shared experience, you know. And as you say, I like you know what you said about how everybody's in one space together. You know, it's like a camaraderie, it's a collaboration. There's something really special about that in a simple way, because life is so complex that we can bring it down to some basic rules and we can get along and we can make it work. And you know, where else in life do we really have that these days, you know? So
yeah,
thank you for sharing that. That was so rich.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike, in the comments for sharing as well. I really appreciate that. And everyone else, always feel free to engage. That's why I do these things live. But at this point, I'm going to ask everyone, over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So is there something that you have to do, something you want to do? Is there something that you want to share? Please do. I promise I care. Personally, I'm going to have my friend over in a wee bit. It's going to be the first time that I've had someone over here this year. So it's a lot messier than I would like, but they've been over a few times and I know they won't judge me too harshly. But we'll play a few games and then I'm going to go out to a daytime club, which I really like this thing because I like being with other people, but I don't like being out until like 4 a.m. So I really appreciate somewhere that says, you know what, we're going to close at like 9 p.m. That this is, yeah, if you aren't able to take the day off, or then you don't get much time with us, but that's the deal. And so I really like that idea. And thankfully, London's a populous enough city that even if 1% of the population wants it, well, that's still thousands and thousands of people.
That's genius.
But yes, I am basically having a day off today, tiny bits of work maybe at night, but I'll see how I get on. What are you up to, Alison? Given that it's like now 6 o'clock for you.
Yeah, it's coming up for 6 o'clock. I'm going to make him dinner in a minute. It's fajitas night tonight. So yeah, family will be back soon.
Oh, one thing that I am definitely making for my friend, I know this, so what I've started doing is I've started cooking rice, but then chopping up vegetables and putting them on top of the rice halfway through when it's been steaming, if you know what I mean. So that means like you can get like onions or something else just soft, and then you mix it in, and so it kind of gently flavors it. I even try tea bags. Going back,
a humble tea bag. Really? Oh wow.
Mike says, I'm tinkering with my stream backend and probably playing a few board game arena games. I hope you enjoy that very much. And at this point, I like to recap and wrap up before we finish up. So to recap and wrap up, we had a lovely chat, starting off talking about yoga, exploring and self-discovery, a daily highlight being the daily yoga, doing it in the park, the juxtaposition of everything going on in Bangkok, tea bags being a brilliant thing, playing gin rummy with Dad, and Snap and Ludo, and all of these connections going on. A book by Mitch Albom,
That's him.
and about being in a life raft, but we're not sure what the name is. Playing Scrabble in a hyper-competitive way, and enjoying the real-time aspects of Wibble or Pit, and the chaos of everyone being there, but still wanting to have your ducks in a row, but sometimes enjoying a few surprises in life's way. Having that connection with your daughter in Rummikub, and have different people having different moments to excel. Daring Dustbunnies, again, a connection with the designer, a connection with everyone in UK, and this moment of who taught it and everything. The ideas of holidays and being together and sharing a space and fostering those memories together. And this beautiful thing that we can enjoy as a microcosm of life. If you want to check me out, I'm really sorry, I'm going to see if my laptop has come back on so I can actually share your link as well. But my links are, of course, Stuff by Bez in all of the places. If you want... If you want to check out Alison then on Facebook, how would people check you out? Sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
struggling
So my professional page is Shine Reiki and Yoga.
So that's ShineReiki, letters ANDYOGA.
Correct. Yeah, Shine Reiki and Yoga. And yeah, there's a few nice videos on there, and there's some, you know, nice uplifting stuff, and some self-discovery to move towards, if that's your bag.
And have a wee search on that on Facebook. And are you on other places as well, or is it basically just Facebook?
It's mainly Facebook. You know, I'm a bit older now. My kids laugh because I don't know anything about Instagram, but mainly Facebook is where I'm active. So
I think you would enjoy Instagram, but so lots of nice pictures. I want to say thank you very much, everyone. Obviously, share, spread the word, but most importantly, thank you, Alison, for being here. It's been an absolute delight. And unless you've got anything you want to say, I guess the only thing left for us to say is, as always, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, everyone.